intro. We're already live, Kenshin.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, dude, absolutely mega scuffed. I freaked this shit. I meant to have the starting soon screen up, but I messed up. So let's pretend like we're opening. So let me mute myself, and then we'll starting soon it. Right. Kenshin, this is okay. I have a weird request. Can you beatbox or something?
Hell no.
You want to be like da 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 da.
I'm afraid I can't do that.
Okay, I'll do it, and you do the intro. Okay.
But I can't rap either.
No, I didn't say rap. Just say, "Hey, welcome to the Brothers Podcast" or some shit. So I will do the music. You do the intro. Okay. Your cue is when the music starts. You ready?
Okay, guys. Skeleton Podcast with Skeleton and Kenshin, and we're hitting the rift again, bringing some awesome time to you. So, yeah, please stop.
First of all, it's called the Bare Bones Podcast, not the Skeleton Podcast. I don't even know what podcast you're on there,
Bare
bud.
bones.
Bastard. All right. Anyways, how's it going? Welcome to this episode of the Bare Bones Podcast, the Week 2 review. Thank you, Kenshin, for that riveting intro. Very, very fantastic. Really great idea you had there. We got a couple of topics today. It's going to be a little bit longer episode than yesterday, but nothing too long. Probably going to try to go for under the hour mark. So I know Kenshin wants to talk about the upcoming patch, which is 11.4, right?
Oh, yeah.
We'll talk a little bit about that. We're going to talk about... I've seen some stuff on Reddit recently where people are saying that TL is overrated. And I want to talk about how stupid people on Reddit are. And then we will discuss the games. Actually, I think we should do the games first because I think that's the easier way to go about things. So let's start with Friday's games. The first game on Friday was Solve Dig taking on Immortals. I got to watch all of the games on Friday, so I've come way more prepared than I was last episode because I didn't get to watch much. So I'm going to go first with Dig and Immortals. I actually thought it was an entertaining game, more or less. It did seem... It was entertaining in a sense that seeing Dignitas just kind of like play the way they wanted to play was kind of fun, and Neo kind of popped off, and that Ori Thresh Callista combo was something else, and then their topside, Dig's topside was just kind of useless that game, but they outclassed Immortals, and it was really actually fun to watch, as much as I really don't care for Dignitas. What did you think about that game?
Yeah, I mean, I predicted Dignitas to win. They won in a not really that convincing fashion, but still like a fashion where you could say, okay, Dig is the better team right now, even though it's not a huge gap. So yeah, pretty much went as expected. I'm still waiting for Revenge to like put up his lock-in performance again. A little sad we don't see stuff like that anymore. But yeah, like Dardoch, Xerxes, I think in the current patch, Xerxes is not a good jungler because he does like staple pathing, he doesn't do crazy stuff, he doesn't play too much around getting snowball elites in the early game. He plays solid in the team fights mostly, but like a player like Dardoch who does a lot more in the early game, but then falls off later is still better in just how the meta works. And yeah, I think Immortals just overall has one of the, if not the worst bot lane in the league. Especially Destiny is for me a big red X. So yeah, like I think Neo Afromu playing Callista Thresh was a really smart choice into Aphelios Nautilus. It's a double counter pick there. So they played the lane accordingly, they snowballed the game, and I'm happy to see that. Even though bottom teams in NA, like if you look at the top 5 teams and the bottom 5 teams, the gap is huge.
Right.
So
A good
yeah,
question coming from Mr. Bolt Speed Gamer. Um, this is I'm assuming this question's for Kenshin because this is a lot easier for him to answer. Do you think Dig's success had anything to do with an easier schedule, or do you think they are just doing well?
are they successful? Oh, yeah, they're fun too, actually.
I mean, well, do you think it's they're only that their record only shows that because they've had an easy schedule, or do you think they're actually a decent team?
No, no, I don't think they're decent, to be honest. Like, they won against CLG, who are a bottom 2 team in the league. They won against Immortals, who are also like just below them. Who else did they win against, actually? Oh yeah, GGS, who are also one of the worst teams.
So
Sadly, I thought better of them.
you would say for sure this is because they've had an easy schedule, not because they're like an actual like contender or anything like that.
No, they are not a contender for sure.
Okay.
But like, this week the one surprise is actually EG versus Dignitas. EG this week has been struggling a lot. Like, they're a totally different team from week 1. Mostly because I think Jizuke is a little giga tilted
Yeah.
from what you hear. But also, yeah, Svenskeren just also had this against Dignitas, had some big mistakes that cost them the game too. I still think EG is the better team though. I think that was just an off game or like off weekend.
I would say I partially agree, but I also kind of agree with what Pika Shogun said. Is they may have had an easy schedule, but they've also been winning games they were expected to lose because a lot of people had Dig like
Yeah.
ninth or even 10th in some regards. I mean, I didn't really know anybody who had them 10th, but I think I had them 8th over Immortals. Yeah, I had Dig, Immortals, and then GGS. Actually, I had Immortals last, and everybody laughed at me because I just always put Immortals 10th because it's funny. Um, so I I do agree that their strength of schedule has been very easy. But you know they're I think they're a little bit below average of a team. Like I'm talking below middle of the pack. I think they look like a 7th place team to me at the moment.
Yeah,
And it's
that's
obviously
quite
if
accurate.
they start beating better teams, then they're going to um, actually start looking somewhat scary because we all know it doesn't matter what your fucking name is. It doesn't matter how good you are individually at League of Legends or how good you are in solo queue. What matters is how many wins you put up on the win column. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think right now it's even fair to say FlyQuest and Dignitas are like the tier right below the top 5.
Which is disappointing because
Yeah,
I had high hopes for FlyQuest,
FlyQuest.
and
Yeah.
we are going to move on to the next game from that day, and I'm hoping this is in correct order. I think it was Cloud9 versus EG on Friday the 12th of on Friday the 12th. Very surprising, but also not surprising, but surprising, but also not surprising to see EG beat C9. I said this at the end of the lock-in tournament, and I got some funny looks. I know a lot of Cloud9 fans, and I like a lot of Cloud9 fans. Shout out to Havoc and Frozen with the body fan cast. Love those guys. But I said in the lock-ins, as hyped as Cloud9 was, they have perks. Fudge is a god. Sven is playing like G2 Sven. Vulcan's the best support. He's probably better than Core JJ, or he's like arguably tied with Core JJ. Blah 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 blah. Blabber is the best jungler in NA from NA. But does this team look like that in any way, shape, and form? No. Perks
Yeah,
licks.
and I
Perks licks. Perk. I'm sorry. I said I'm getting his name mixed up with looks for some reason. Perks looks like and I'm gonna get so much hate for this. Someone's gonna like quote this, put it on Reddit, and be like, "Look how dumb Skeleton is." Perks is looking like the 3rd best mid laner in NA right
who aside from PoE do you rate above him?
now. Based on current play,
Jensen?
Jensen. And I hate
Okay.
saying that because I don't really like Jensen very much, and I think he's overrated. But Jensen also he's had some really good performances in games in which TL has won. In the games that TL has lost, you'll notice the reason why I put Jensen above Perks right now is because Jensen is so important to TL, because in games that TL have lost, which is 2 of them now, Jensen has looked exceedingly shaky. But in games they win, Jensen looks solid. He looks really, really damn good, right? I think in matter of importance to his team, that's how it is. With Cloud9, in games they've lost, Perks looks okay. In games they've won, Perks looks okay. Perks doesn't really feel like he's influencing any of their games that much, because Blabber is either turbo inting or giga stomping. Uh, I don't know what's going on with Fudge. I can't tell whether he's good at League of Legends or bronze half the time. And C9's bot lane they're still solid. They still perform very well, but I was surprised they lost to EG, even though you and I both have touted how good we think EG is. We both said they were our sleeper team, and it's just so weird seeing Cloud9 drop these games, or get close to dropping games to teams they shouldn't even be close to dropping games to. Cloud9 right now reminds me of 2017 TSM, and that's scary.
Yeah.
Where
Like
they got all these
TSM
players, they
Season
look
7 had
huge, but
TSM Season 7 had a really rough early game though. Like C9 is definitely better on the early game part.
they're not. I know it's spring split and there's a lot of
Yeah,
stuff to
they're
work
not
on, but
amazing.
they are not anywhere near as hyped, good as they were hyped to be, and that's my only issue with them.
Yeah.
Do you have any
In
like
that way.
any reviews for EG that Cloud9 game? Anything you want to talk about specifically?
I think EG in a way is a little like the counter team to Cloud9, how they want to play right now. Like EG, I still think EG has currently the best macro knowledge.
Right.
So and Cloud9 gets a lot of their lead through early game macro, and I think why EG just continues to beat C9 when they face them is because they just counter their style. Like
I mean, banning
they
Blabber out
do the
seems to be a
stuff.
good strat.
Yeah, they just exactly. They just take out the crucial early game parts of C9 and then beat them in team fights.
Which is
And I
very
think
smart when you think at the end. I didn't mean to interrupt, but I wanted to jump in real quick. It's very smart in that regard, which is, again, this is Peter Dunn being an absolute monster of a coach, because he realized, as well we all know, is 99% of Cloud9's early game is 100% facilitated by Blabber for Blabber, right? So if you completely just take Blabber out of the equation, then what's C9's going to do early game? And look what happened.
looks like a different team, just like end of summer. Yeah, there's just Cloud9 seems to win with Blabber and fall with Blabber, but that also reflects how poor they manage their solo lanes right now.
I would agree. Yeah, just kind of like a shaky game from Cloud9. They really looked weak.
Like
I'm sorry, go ahead.
EG is just better at team fighting than C9 right now. Like Jizuke is better integrated in his team than Perks and therefore has more impact in the team fights. Impact and Fudge is a massive, gigantic gap. And
yeah, he got Top Kingdom pretty hard, but
I also frankly think that Vulcan is a better laner than Ingna, but I still think Ingna is one of the best team fighters in NA when it comes to the support role. And Vulcan, if you take him off his Alistar, is more of a fourth, fifth best when it comes to team fighting in terms of the support role.
right.
Like he doesn't really impress me with his team fighting skills. I think he's a very, very, very good laner, but he's shaky. Like in some team fights he looks like God, and other team fights he looks
Like dog.
useless.
yeah.
Yeah, like he needs to be consistent to contend to the top tier support
Right.
team fighting players like Igna this week Sword I think also going forward Sword and Core JJ. Like they're just in a tier on their own.
Yeah, I agree. Moving on to we were talking about FlyQuest earlier. Moving on to the 100 Thieves FlyQuest game. Not much to say for me for this game. I thought it
Yeah.
was thought it was a good game, but at the same time, 100 Thieves just looking like they're starting to roll over people. I've said it once, I'll
Just
say it a million times. It is 100% due to the fact that 100 Thieves are already at 100% full power, right? They
mm,
they they don't have 100 Thieves will not get any better in my mind. They are at full strength. This is what they're going to be like the entire season.
yeah,
Every
they
other
have
team
a
is going to get
simple
better and ramp up as time goes on. 100 Thieves will not. So them beating people early is 100% what I expected out of them.
yeah, and they have a simple play style, easy to execute, straightforward. Pick strong early game jungler, pick some supporting lanes that are also kind of winning in lane,
Right. And some
maybe like more of a supportive mid laner, and then just snowball the game and then out team fight.
and
That's literally what
interesting
they do.
picks as well from both of these teams that game. There was the Senna for FBI. Like seven. Did they have like 70 CS or something like that? Because the Tam Kent was doing all the farming. You have the Tam chilling. Or
Yeah,
I think I got that. I got my document wrong. But FBI, the Tam was good. The Ori, the Udyr, and Udyr and Renekton just kind of being like staples. But like Tam Kench coming back in was interesting. And then Fly picking the Maokai was really cool. Seeing what was it? What was it? AD or no, not AD. It was APC Seraphine was very interesting. I thought that was a misclick when I first saw it picked, but it's kind of a fun game to watch. It's kind of expected all around. Moving
and
on to go ahead. Sorry.
and an A team like 100 Thieves will just never really excite me in recent years, at least, because a team like 100 Thieves, they win because they have superior laners, they have superior team fighting skills, and they are just like they have superior individuals, and then fight their way to victory pretty much,
Right.
which is like a very budget, taking a lot of macro out LPL style kind of game.
Yeah, and if it
But
works, it works, right?
it doesn't work on the international stage. Like if an NA
Yes.
teams if an NA team wants to make waves at the international stage, it's not because they lack the individual players most of the time, because they rather lack the macro in early game, mid game, and also late game. Like other regions are just so far ahead in terms of macro over NA, and a team like 100 Thieves, if they make it to Worlds, I'm not excited at all. Like I think they can take their 2 wins, but like they don't make waves. They don't excite me. I know exactly this team will not get out of groups. Like I don't want such a team to be good in NA, because if a team like that is good in NA, it means the region is bad.
Right. At the same time, I think in spring it's okay to focus on a domestic style because if you can do domestic stuff, then you can figure out the international style. But I understand what you're saying, and I agree where you're coming from. Moving on to, I'm going to save it for last, obviously, because it's always the one we spend the most time talking about. So we'll go to CLG and TL. Anybody who has watched this show before, and anybody who has not seen the show before, I think CLG is the worst organization in the LCS. They are a bad team, top to bottom. I think the way they built their team was horrible. I think their coaching is bad, and I think their drafting is dog. So I have predicted them to lose every single game, every single time I do one of these reviews, because they truly don't look like they can beat anyone. So I knew Liquid was going to beat them. I knew Liquid was going to stomp them 18-3, and they did. And that's just kind of how it goes. The bot Kingdom against CLG there was pretty scary. Actually, pretty
Yeah,
sad. It's like watching a team of challengers face off against a group of silvers and one gold.
gapped.
Yeah, they gapped hard.
Um,
There's not much to talk about other than they were fucking gaped. Not even
let
gapped,
me just
gaped.
let me just answer 2 questions in the chat. First off, do you think Broxa can help any of this situation in CLG?
No.
No.
What is he gonna help?
Broxa is a player that thrives from going in a game, having a solid level 1 and early game plan, and then executing. which he had on Fnatic, which he also had, like, why he looked better in the second week at Worlds for TL, because they kind of like restructured their whole game plan situation.
Right.
But a guy like Roxa and CLG will not make any sort of
Yeah.
difference. He will
And
come in, there's no plan, no coaching, no understanding. He will look shit.
you could argue that bot lane looks so bad because there's no jungle proximity, right? Oh, mid looks so bad because mid can't ever roam up because he keeps getting, the mid keeps getting dumpstered and ganked. Oh, well, top looks bad because it's always a 2v1, right? It's like, well, one, you can't give Wiggly, whatever the hell he's calling himself now, he can't be in all three lanes. Now, Brox is 10 times better than Wiggly is, but Broxa can't be in all three lanes, no matter what. If Broxa goes and helps top and helps Finn look good, then you're looking at Immortals from last year, where it's just the Soaz and whoever the hell Soaz and Xmithy show, where it was, wow, these guys are really good up here, but the rest of their map, because their lanes are bad, are suffering. I said, the second they got their roster finalized, I said, wow, this looks like a bunch of B-plus players who are additions to good teams, all wrapped together in one team by themselves. No one there is a star. No one there is somebody you can play through. They're all people who are added to teams to make that team itself better. They're not upgrades in themselves. They are upgrades for other positions that are in need of an upgrade. You know what I mean? This is not a team you can build with. And they are playing truly like if the LCS did draft picks like they do in the NFL, right? CLG is throwing because they're trying to draft a quarterback. That's what they're trying to do. I know you don't understand what that means, but that's playing absolutely as horrible as you can so you can get the best player out of college, and that doesn't work in the LCS. Sorry.
That's the
Garbage team, garbage org, garbage coaches, garbage players. Sucks. They need to be. I agree with Rain. They need to be regulated. It's not a oh my god, Scully, you're a TSM fan and you just hate CLG kind of thing, because I'm pretty sure there was a rule that says if you finish last like 3 years in a row, you automatically lose your spot, right? But there should be a rule for finishing in the bottom 3 like 5 out of 6 years. Come on.
Yeah, like honestly, nobody hates CLG anymore. Everyone pities them.
Yeah, they're a joke. They're the Jets. They're the Hotspurs right now, man. They're a joke, man.
Also, to answer the other question, who would I rather see at Worlds than 100 Thieves? Pretty much any of the other top 4 Team Liquid, Cloud9, EG, or TSM. Would all rather see them than 100 Thieves right now.
Segue going on to the TSM Gold Guardians game. We are at a turning point of this podcast. We're at 22 minutes, and we're going into the first of TSM games on Friday. So let's keep this one brief if we can, Kenshin. I know you want to talk about them, but we obviously will want to talk about the Saturday game a little bit more than the Friday game. So talking about TSM versus GG, I had a very quick review of that game.
Friday TSM is just old TSM still. A lot of problems in the early game. Actually a better draft, but like still not that insane draft. I think Ezreal got a lot better with the new item build, but I don't think he's ready for the competitive stage yet.
Yeah.
I'm not too much of a fan.
Yeah, TSM, like LS says, TSM got away with a robbery on Friday for sure. It did not look great, but hey, a win's
and like the worst part about it is they didn't just lose early game; they lost early game against a team that should outscale them, and they merely won by the fact that they were better players on the Rift and better at team fighting generally. Not because they did anything fancy. They just individual gapped them basically.
Yeah.
It was not fun to watch.
I would agree. That's basically all I was gonna say was they got the win, but they didn't look like a good team. You could still make the argument that TSM looked bad because they did. And moving on to Saturday. The good news is we talked about most of these teams in depth for Friday, so we can actually just go over quick reviews of these games. Obviously, getting to the one we want to talk about the most. Immortals and EG was the first one. Immortals beating EG was a shocker, especially after EG just beat Cloud9. Why the hell did they just drop a game to Immortals?
Yeah, that was just.
They're just. I love EG right now, but they're so weird because they didn't just lose to Immortals; they fucking lost to Immortals. Immortals beat the hell out of them. Beginning of the game to end of the game, wrap.
that was the game that made Shizuka boom out of this world into the next dimension. Like, he was so tilted. He just, poof. That was a rough game.
But Jizuke, like, he he had less farm than Xerxes did.
Yeah.
At the end of the game, Xerxes had 247 CS and Jizuke had 245. That's insane. Because Svenskeren only had 185 CS. Right? Aside from support, Svenskeren had the lowest CS of anybody else in the entire game. Like, there's just no resources. Nothing. None. They got choked out beginning to end. That was... if anybody watches UFC, that is 3 rounds. Within 30 seconds of the first round, Immortals put them down on the floor and just started choking them out, and EG just wouldn't tap. Second round, same thing. 10 seconds in, took him to the ground, we're choking him out, didn't tap. Third round, finally Immortals gets the choke and wins. EG like, didn't do a fucking shred of nothing there. They just laid there like a vegetable.
The thing is, the worst part about the whole match is Jizuka, you counterpicked LeBlanc into Tristana, and
that should be easy. That's easy pickings.
You just lose the lane on Prio. Then she gets the kill early, and then you sit there with a tier to her having like 120, 80 something, and she just, you can't really do anything anymore.
AG is so frustrating. They look like such a great team. They do remind me of TSM in some regards, where they can beat any team, they can beat anybody, but God forbid they play anybody with a losing record, because they will get dumpstered by that team for no reason.
Like, I think EG's problem this weekend was mostly Svenskeren had a really bad weekend. Made some questionable decisions. Then Impact kind of
he used all his talent against Fudge
from him and mid lane. Not even that. Like, Jizuke kind of like went giga boom because like Svenskeren played bad, and then Impact was kind of like, okay, my mid laner and my jungle is bad. What am I supposed to do? Like, they just come up and just load their shit on me. Like,
agreed. I would say, it truly felt like EG did all they wasted all of their prep trying to beat Cloud9, and they went to the Mortals and like, oh fuck, we have another game to play. You know what I mean? Thank you for the follow, Bolt Speed.
To Bolt Speed Gamer in the chat, I don't think they should bring in Nemesis, to be honest. Like, I think one of the great things about EG right now is that they have players like Impact, Jizuke, Ingnar, who are kind of like crazy maniacs, and it kind of makes them so fun to watch when they have a good game, and it makes them so explosive in some games. It also makes them kind of like, in a very weird way balanced. That they have these crazy parts, then these more calmer parts with Svenskeren and Deftly, and like even Svenskeren is low-key a maniac, but he doesn't show it anymore. He's more of a controlled veteran right now. Yeah. But in him, deep within him, he's still the kind of maniac that always wants to counter jungle.
And like, good, sorry.
It's a fun team. Like, I wouldn't want a player like Nemesis who plays control mages, scaling picks all the time to be in that team, because like I think Jizuka just fits the overall spirit of the team.
Yeah, and I feel like over time, EG's gonna be one of those teams where they're gonna be able to control all that chaos, and like they're gonna bottle that lightning, and they're gonna be a really dangerous team later on, because that was the thing of Jizuke and Vitality that year. He was just so damn good, was because I don't remember who their coach was, but they were bottling that lightning that he was. Yeah, they were just making him. They weren't enabling him, but they were like, look, if you're going to be crazy, point it towards that lane. Point it towards that lane. Point it towards that lane, and we'll be ready for you. I think EG just needs to learn how to play around Jizuke, because Jizuke is really that type of player where he doesn't necessarily need resources, but he does need the bumpers up. Like, he is a bowling ball heading down the lane at 1,000,000 miles an hour. If he makes contact anywhere with any single pin, he will absolutely get a strike. The problem is he keeps rolling in the gutter. They put up the bumpers and steer him in the right direction, Jizuke will be good and EG will flourish. And I agree that they somewhat play off his aggression. Sometimes he's overly aggressive, which is why their plays they're in good faith. Like, oh, we're going in, we're making a 3v2 dive. This is a good play. and then they mishandle the aggro because they were just too focused on getting the kill type thing, you know?
Not just even him. Like I think Impact even way more than Jizuke because like Impact is a player that always wants to
Oh
engage.
yeah, for
In
sure.
every situation, he sees someone he wants to engage. If he can't engage because they are too far behind, you basically take Impact's greatest ability to start these team fights, these crazy fights, these explosive fights, to like just go in and roll over people. That's like a classic Impact, you know.
Right.
Like he wants to have that ability to let out his aggression, kind of, and taking that away from him, you strip off Impact's great ability to play the mid game and the team fights. Like one of the like Impact in Team Liquid, you know, when they had their great MSI run, he was one of the core pieces because he played that team fight so well, made TL that overwhelming team fight power team with having players like Impact and Doublelift in their roster.
Yep.
And like, yeah, you just need to enable him. Like if mid lane and jungle fall behind early game too much because like they're tilted or whatever, you basically lose your third player
Right.
automatically.
Answer your question, Rain. EG took Echo Fox's spot. EG took that spot back from them. Yeah. Yeah. All right. Moving on to Dig and GG. I said it in the last episode when we were reviewing this week. I don't care. This was a team of this was a paraplegic who has one arm and one leg versus a paraplegic who has no arms and two legs. It was just kind of a, you know, just two rats in a bucket fighting over a piece of bread with peanut butter on it. You know what I mean? That's just what the game felt like. That's what it always looks like when those teams face off, and it sucks because I like GG because I really like Anero. I think he's a great coach, but I don't care for Dignitas GG games. Both of them just don't look very good. I don't care what Dig's record is, but they did go 3-0, right?
Yeah.
So good for Dig, but it's not like GGS is exactly huge competition. So I don't really have anything else to say about that other than go ahead and quote me on this: two rats in a bucket fighting over a piece of bread with peanut butter on it.
Yeah.
That's it. That's all I got for that. You got anything for it?
Not really. I don't care either.
All right. Fly in CLG. This was a boring game. It felt boring to me, anyways. Kind of the same thing. I picked CLG to lose. I knew Fly was going to win. Fly
Yeah.
very much looks like an average team that really relies on how good Jose Diodo plays.
Man, Palafaker is really rough to watch. I call him Palafaker because he's like the opposite meme of when Abafaker came up. Like Abafaker just suddenly became a god, and Palafaker came in, was expected to be decent, but similar to Fudge, just
Yep.
man, like if there is a hook in the game, he will find it. You know,
Well,
like he will run into it and lose it the game.
it's the property of all these players always look good when they're on CLG or when they're on C9 or within C9's organization. It's one of those things where if C9 is trying to sell you a player, don't take it because they are only good on C9. It happens every time, right?
Yeah, true, true.
Once is happenstance, twice is a coincidence, three times you're dumb. Okay, so
That is a bait.
it's a massive bait, and Jack absolutely outsmarted FlyQuest. That's all I'm saying. Moving on to the next game, we're gonna skip past it because we know we want to talk about it more than any other game because we're gonna spend a lot of time on this one, and then on Sunday's games we're gonna breeze right through. Cloud9, 100 Thieves, C9 beating 100 Thieves, kind of expected, but it was a good game, but it was very expected in the sense that I did expect 100 Thieves to get kind of outclassed a little bit in just about every lane, and they kind of did.
Yeah, like similar to how Cloud9 is beaten by EG, they beat 100 Thieves.
Yep.
Because 100 Thieves needs to have that strong early game champs, win lane, etc. Like I already said it on the last episode too, that I just think C9 will win because they have the better bot lane and can hold their own in the jungle. They have better early game macro. That's why they win. That's what I said last week on the preview for this week, and that's pretty much what happened. Just in a different way than I thought it would happen, because like Hundred Thieves made some more waves in the early game and hold themselves better. But at the end of the day, the bot gap just once in the game,
Yep.
and it was visible.
All right. Okay. Moving on to the game we all want to talk about. Now, the good news about this game is because it was an absolute fucking shellacking. The glory in talking about it is we could talk about how TSM absolutely manhandled Liquid. Because if it was a close game, we have a lot to discuss, differing points, but at the end of the day, what it comes down to is PoE good and Jensen bad on Zoe. Honey okay, and the good thing I would say for TL is at least Alfari looked really good that game. That's about it though. That's about all I can say good for TL that game. They didn't do well.
Like I'm not a fan of the Kennen pick, and I think it might have been his call, so I blame him a little for that.
I understand the Kennen into because it was did they pick Gnar after the Kennen or Kennen into the Gnar?
Kennen into Gnar.
Okay, so they picked Kennen into Gnar, which is obviously fine. Kennen outranges Gnar by what 100 auto attack range. On top of that, it's empowered auto, Q, W, pop. That's huge trade potential. The Gnar's not going to go in on you because cooldowns, shit like that. What's he going to do? Jump onto you and try and hyper you down? It's not going to work. You're going to auto attack him to death faster as Kennen. But the amount of disrespect that was given towards, especially that bot lane play of PoE teleporting in and getting that double flash Shreem and Shuffle, right? That was so disrespectful of TL, thinking that Huni was just going to sit there and take it. They lined up on the wall. They engaged on him facing the wall. All he had to do was press R. It's a 30-second cooldown. There's no way you wouldn't know that's up, right? You know for a fact that the Azir has teleport, and he's not on the map at the moment. That was a disrespectful play. And that seemed like the case for TL for most of the game was they kind of just played super disrespectfully from even their picks. Like, Kennen Graves is such a disrespectful top lane because that's not a top you actually pick thinking, oh, we're gonna fucking stomp top, right? That's you want to win that 2v2 over and over again, right? At what point in time did Santorin ever go top and make it a 2v2?
Like,
they didn't. They just made it was just disrespectful.
TL hyper disrespected TSM in draft. They picked a comp that as a whole is not supposed to really win the early game.
Yeah.
Like, or rather, it's a comp that only works if you expect your enemy to shit the bed early game.
Yeah, and
that's more accurate.
I feel like it was designed to kill maybe like 2 members per fight, so you can just steamroll them. Because think about it. Okay, your engage is if Alfari goes in, gets that solid engage, right? Then Not goes in, you lock 1 or 2 people up really hard, and then Zoe and Tactical and Graves. I'm sorry, yeah, Jensen, the Jhin, and the Graves just blow these people up. And then it's like a 3v2 and it's a 5v2 and you're gonna win that fight every time, right? But what ended up happening is Alfari would go in, but they would get engaged on, and then it would be, well, now what do you do? You've been engaged on. Who's gonna disengage for you? The Kennen? No, you're just gonna stand there and get popped because Azir's in the back of your fight killing everybody. TSM outdrafted TL here. Solid.
The situation Kennen got drafted in, Alfari had to rush Arglass, which is not the best if you play Kennen.
It was weird.
Like it's a like he basically is just a stun lock tool in that comp, which is kind of rough because like okay, Kennen into Gnar is not a hard winning lane for Kennen. It's like a slight winning lane. It's not like he will have ever like kill pressure on the Gnar. It's more like okay, he will have a solid 15 to 20 CS lead, but that's about it. Like the Gnar still brings more value in the team fights if like, or rather easier applied value in the team fight, because like if you play
Yeah.
Gnar and the team fight doesn't go accordingly, it's a shit pick. Like it doesn't really do anything in that kind of
Yeah,
scenarios.
and especially with Speaker going that Moonstone Renewer build for Lilia as well,
Mm,
and like it was just the entire game top to bottom for TSM was just solid. It was I
yeah.
was watching it live and I was like, I remember seeing all these tweets. You know, shout out to Zers and all those other rumor people on Twitter and shit. But the amount of people who were like, I'm about to witness a murder. TSM's going to get absolutely fucking butt blasted by TL. And just watching TSM just say, "You sure about that?" was really, really satisfying because
I mean,
it was just satisfying. It's so nice. We're both
I
TSM
I
fans. This
might have
isn't a TSM fan podcast, I promise. But we're both TSM fans, and we love that game.
I might have made a bet before the game about €10 that TL would win, but I'm still happy that TSM won.
You bet again. Not even a real TSM fan. Change your icon right now. Fucking
Bro,
no,
like I
no.
mean, like I
Disowned,
look at
bro.
TL before the game and look at TSM before the game.
We will
Like,
be having a new guest next week, and it's not Kenshin.
but
He's banned.
but to be fair, um, it was a bet that I took because like I was super okay if I lost the bet.
I mean, I guess.
Like it was more a charity bet than a personal
I mean,
bet.
at the end of the day, it's okay to you know.
Yeah, like I kind of was like, okay, if TSM lose, I'll give money, but I still have the happiness of them. If TSM win, but I give money, but I still have the happiness of them winning.
Yeah,
It was kind of win-win situation.
yeah, Pog. Moving on to Sunday, we'll breeze through these because I know you want to talk about the meta. Um, Golden Guardians, CLG. CLG getting the win. Pog champ, good for them against everybody's 10th place team, Golden Guardians. Woo! Good for fucking CLG, dude. They actually put a game together, and all it took was 4 of 5 Golden Guardians members inting.
Yeah, but I also gotta say, the top gap was kind of insane. Like Finn is not a super bad laner in NA,
Yeah, but
so
you gangplank into Aatrox. If Aatrox doesn't smash that lane, it's like a go next.
yeah, like
Niles is he's looking about as good as every other person who's come from Maryland into the LCS has ever played. So shout out to Shady, TSM Shady.
oof.
Yeah, I'd say we can move on from that game because it was just CLG finally got a win. It was top gap. That was really it.
Yeah, that's a surprise, and that's about it.
Another thing to talk about. We already talked about it with the last one, but fucking EG dropping a game to Dignitas, beat Cloud9, lose to arguably two of the worst teams in the league, or some of the worst teams in the league, being Dig and Immortals. What the fuck? I don't have anything else more to say to them. They need to control that chaos. It was just a bad week for them, I think. I'm hoping they figure it out because I like EG. I like their team. I like their. They got outdrafted. They got outplayed, and out macroed, which is supposed to be their big strength. And Soligo popping off on Zoe was kind of pog. But I will say
Yeah, but
this today was especially for
that was
NA
just
because I'm sorry, go ahead.
the day after Tilt. That
Yeah,
was just the day after Tilt.
I
Like
was gonna
I
say
mean, I don't know.
it transferred over.
I don't know if you saw, but apparently after the loss on day 2, Shizuka went into solo queue and like hard flamed. Like after their loss against Immortals Day, he just hard flamed in
God,
solo queue.
I mean,
Like
obviously, look
he got
that.
tilted.
Do you realize how stressed out Kazuki is all the time? I mean, look at his hairline. The dude's stressed, man. He's pressed. My wife is in the chat. Hello, hello. Also, Winter's Ward, not my wife, but good old Nick. How you doing, bud? He is a mod in every single league chat. That's just what he does. That's just Winter's Ward, man. Moving on to Liquid and 100 Thieves. 100 Thieves beating TL was
Surprised.
It was a surprise.
Yeah.
I still think this is just every other team's ramping up, and TL's is where it is. I also think TL just kind of they didn't really have a good week or weekend at all, did they? I mean, they beat CLG. Woo! Good for them. And then they lost to TSM and then lost to 100 Thieves. Teams that they need to be beating if they want to stay contenders, right? And they lost in very surprising fashion. So the game was very, very close. Liquid 100 Thieves. It was a close game, obviously. But weirdly enough, seeing TL lose somewhat through their bot lane play was super weird. Like, I don't care what anybody says. Core did not have a good Rel game. That was a horrible showing on Rel for Core.
Yeah,
and then
he
the
did not
Rise
have a
pick
good
just
game.
seemed super troll.
Also, Jensen hard ran it down on Rise.
It was
You
such a
can't
troll
take that
pick.
away.
Like, why would you pick that? Like, TF,
It was not a good pick, and it was not a good execution.
I mean, you've got TF, you got LeBlanc, you got all these other somewhat meta champs. You could even play the Tristana and it would work there. The Tristana and the Alphari just giga stomping the Ezreal or the TF just laughing would be a fantastic comp, right? Even Rel and Tristana, like Tristana would be was a good pick there.
Nonetheless, I think Alphari played a really good game.
Alphari's great. Alphari's the best part about TL, 100%.
Yeah, like Alphari was hyper-entered by his team that game.
Damn.
Like super hyper-entered.
Yeah.
Feels bad.
Yeah. That's all there really was to it. It's just that game was super close. I wish we could talk about it more, but it just tale of two Jensens, man. Either body by Jensen or get bodied as
What
Jensen.
are these accusations in the chat? We wouldn't talk about EG. We talked so much about EG.
What are you talking?
That's a lie.
Oh, okay, listen, wife, woman. We talked about EG when you weren't in the chat. We've been talking about them. Okay? Just because you show up and we've already done talking about them doesn't mean we're not talking about them. Okay? The world still rotates when you aren't here. I'm gonna regret saying that.
Oh well, yes.
You never ask. I don't. Yeah, here's what happens. We sit at the dinner table. We talk. We say, honey, these peas are fantastic. How about Evil Geniuses? You never ask about League. You don't care about League. I tried to watch it last night with you, and you didn't care. Yeah, I'm sleeping on the couch tonight for sure. She's going to absolutely destroy me. We'll move on to the next one. Can I get an over under on me sleeping on the couch? Cloud9, FlyQuest. I mean, C9 just beat them. C9 main team versus C9 Light. C9 just won.
Just expected.
Yeah. I mean, Vulcan on Alistar. That's it. Vulcan can really only play Alistar, apparently.
Vulcan on Alistar, just FF. If C9 has Vulcan on Alistar, they're the best team in the league. Just
ban 4 junglers and Alistar, and you might be able to beat Cloud9.
Yeah, actually, it's so true. Like, Vulcan on Alistar, best support in the league. Vulcan off Alistar,
he really is one tricking. Even in the lock-in tournament, he was just on Alistar. He was just so good. It's permaban. TSM Immortals. I got to watch the game kind of in its entirety last night. I watched it a little late, obviously, after it ended.
Then I gotta say, you missed the cleanest TSM game this year.
I know. I got to watch it. I watched it in its entirety. I got to sit down. It was after I avoided. I had the results spoiled for me, but I didn't see the game spoiled for me. So I went back and watched it. It looked good.
TSM versus TL, top 4 team. TSM versus Immortals, top 2 team.
Right. I would agree.
Actually, well played by TSM.
Yeah.
Really well played.
Yeah, that was he also played he played Pantheon against TL as well.
Yeah, he played it twice.
Yeah. It was really good game from him because the Pantheon game against TSM is allergic to playing clean. There might be the first ever like wife being banned from a Twitch chat from their husband's Twitch chat.
It's a breakup angle.
Yeah, this is a breakup angle, dude. This is a divorce buff. Okay, I'm kidding. Yeah, I think it was just a clean game all around for TSM. That's all there really was to it. All right.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna give you 10 minutes so we can stay under the hour mark because I still got to get this on YouTube without having to edit it because I'm lazy. Kenshin, I know you're very excited to talk about this, but it's 11.4, 10.4,
Yeah, it's 11.4.
11.4.
So
So go ahead.
the next league patch that's coming up, I think this week on Wednesday, and that will hit the LCS on the 26th, which is week 4, I believe. Yeah. So that patch is kind of interesting because, like, in patch 11.3, we already had some meta changes. In patch 11.4, we will have a huge meta change because jungle just is, yeah, jungle is kind of rough. It's kind of really, really rough what they do to junglers. Like, very, very over nerfed in my eyes. Like, if I was the right team, if I had to nerf the jungle camps, I would give them very, very, very slight XP or gold nerfs. Not even like both, if anything, either. But like, what I would do, honestly, I would nerf the scuttle crab. I would nerf the objectives. Like, or rather, I would not nerf the objectives, but I would rather make them harder to get. Like, I would buff the strength of Dragon. I would buff the strength of Herald, or rather the tankiness of Herald, because like the way Herald functions, you can't buff his strength. It doesn't matter. But like, they the problem is more that the objectives are so easy to clear that you just can easily clear them the moment they are up. Like, the only reason why people don't clear it the moment it's up is more because of how the general pathing works. But like, jungle camps are not the issue. What, like, I don't understand why they nerf jungle camps that hard, and they nerf them really, really hard. Like, everything, if you're a jungler, everything you knew about jungle pathing, this patch to next patch, you can take it and you just throw it in the trash because it's worthless. It's worthless knowledge. It doesn't do anything. It's, yeah, it's useless. You can't apply it anymore. Probably. I mean, at the end of the day, you still have to do the testing to verify it, but like, probably it's like a completely new game. And like, the reason why I'm quite negative on the patch is there's basically two outcomes for how jungle is going to be changed. The least likely outcome, but there is a chance it happens, is we go all the way back to when they nerfed jungle in season 8, when they or like, not when they introduced skull crabs, but like after they introduced skull crabs, and skull crabs were like really OP. And as far as I know, they want to buff scuttle crabs too, and like nerf the jungle camps, which basically means champions like Xin that have really strong level 2 and like a really strong river priority, they might make a comeback, and you have a meta where the laners only play for jungle because like whoever gets the scuttle crab basically wins the
Are
jungle,
you
which is
are you calling for River Shen to come back? Is that what you're doing?
um no.
Do you want
I don't
River Shen
think
to come
that's
back?
gonna make a comeback. No, I don't want it to come back, but like, River Shen is a champion that suffers the most from that changes
I know.
because
I was
he
just.
wants to do the full clear.
That's true.
Um, but like, a champ like Xin who doesn't really need the jungle camps, he will do red buff, he will go gank mid lane, then he will do the scuttle crab, then he will go gank mid lane again, then he will do the blue buff, then he will gank top lane 3 times. It's like, you hit the minute 5 and you had like 6 jungle ganks on the map already. That's one thing that can happen, and trust me, laners hate this change. Junglers hate this change.
Dude, doctors
Everyone
hate this
hates this
change.
change. Everyone hates this change. Like,
Underrated
it's like
joke.
a meta where you literally only can pick priority lanes because you always have to give river priority. It's so annoying to play. Your jungler can't farm. He doesn't have any smartness in the game. He just needs to run in the river and win the 2v2 or the 1v1 fight. It's so boring, so stale, and it's so annoying to play. That's one thing that can happen. If we are lucky, that doesn't happen, hopefully. But the other thing that can happen is also just boring, because the other thing that happens is if you can't really play carry jungles anymore, especially jungles that rely on full clear, hence Olaf, Udyr, etc.
Hecarim.
Actually, Udyr still, Udyr kind of still, but like
Recipes
with a
Hecarim.
champion like Olaf, Hecarim, Lilia, like these champs, they like boom, bye bye. You're not allowed to play the game anymore. And who comes back? Sejuani, Trundle,
The fuck was that?
Zack. These champions come back.
Yeah.
You have a tank jungle meta. Yikes. Like, so yikes, man. Like, jungles, I mean, that's better for the laners because, like, the whole jungle role then evolves around the laners, which is then again something that laners generally like. Not even in solo queue, because Sejuani is. If Sejuani is in the meta solo queue, it's kind of also like,
Yeah.
where is she gonna gank next? I don't want it to be my lane. But like in competitive, it's a very laner focused matter then, which is a little nicer. Which means like if you have players like PoE that like to play control mages, that like to play for their lane, and that don't like to give their jungle too much priority, or like also like a player like Perks, Jizuka. These are the players that love that change if it happens that way, because they can obviously focus more on the lane, focus more on getting the 1v1 kills and stuff like that, focus on getting the CS leads, maybe also give it more of a scaling meta, because when you don't have to attend to the early dragons that hard and to the early heralds, because you have a jungle meta, and it's literally Trundle versus Sejuani every game, which is probably the thing that's going to happen. Maybe with Udyr still being in the mix. Then you just like that opens the meta for less scaling picks. So in this patch, we just had 80 jungles being buffed because Banshee's Veil was buffed, which means Yone was really hard buffed. And I'm surprised NA doesn't play it more than they do. Um, these champions then kind of suffer in some ways. I mean, Yone also has good scaling, but like the champs like Azir that we see right now are like among like the S tier champs. You have these technically S plus tier with like Syndra, Ori, the classics, and like Yone, and then Azir is like right below that in the S tier. But if that meta happens, Azir climbs up to the S plus plus tier. We will play Azir versus pick any other scaling mid laner every game. We will have probably tank top laners, and we will have Aphelios and all that, and Senna and all that late game scaling picks being like super dominant, and it will just be a boring, boring scaling meta, which as the viewer you hate, because that's no action at all.
Can we? I, I'm no. I'm not gonna call attention to it. I agree. I liked all that you said. Sorry, my wife's saying I can't have a brain. My ass is too fat. Kind of threw me for a loop. Anyways, yeah. I mean, I'm excited for the potential of tank jungle meta being a thing again, because I love tanks. I love playing tanks. I love when my team plays tanks. I love tanks. You know what I hate the most? When people are playing on a team that nobody picks a tank, because tanks are great. Play tanks. That
Oh, and also Tryndamere is getting buffed. Riot, what are you
yeah.
smoking?
Don't what the
Tryndamere
fuck?
buffs?
No,
Really?
no.
This champ is destroying solo queue.
Yeah,
Stop!
they don't.
Stop!
Riot doesn't care unless it affects stage play. If there's any lesson you can take away from the Bare Bones podcast today, is that play tanks, and you don't need a brain if your ass is too fat. Uh, with that being said, I think we're ready to sign off, Mr. Kenshin. Do you have anything else to add?
No, not really. I guess I'll just give my usual shout out. This time in the correct way. It's underscore, right? So
Yeah, good
check out
boy.
check out my Twitter, coach underscore Kenshin, if you're interested in some quality competitive League of Legends related tweets. And yeah, was a good cast.
Alrighty. Great cast. We're under. Well, hold on. We have to go in 10 seconds. We're under an hour in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Love you guys. Bye. See you. Come to the next episode next Monday at 2 o'clock. See you.
Yeah.
Bye.